Well, and I'm back with you to continue reading the book Building Your Warehouse of Wealth, written by Nelson Nash, and we're going now into chapter 3. So, chapter 3 is about spending habits. Chapter 2, that we read in two parts, it was a great chapter because it shows the power of the dividend paying whole life insurance contract used as per Nelson Nash recommendations with the infinite banking concept. So, dividend paying whole life insurance contract is great. So, let's talk about the spending habits of Americans. And Nelson says some analogies are helpful at this point. Look at the globe in this figure, and that's what he shows. Isn't it obvious that about 80% of the Earth's surface is water? The sun heats up the surface and some of it will evaporate into the atmosphere. Warm air rises because it is lighter. Moist air is lighter than dry air also, so warm, moist air is really lighter. Moist air, excuse me, this will cause wind currents that take the moisture around the earth. From time to time, the moisture will precipitate out as rain, sleet, and snow and hail, and some of it will pass through you and me. We can't live without it. We can't live without water. When it passes through us, it will eventually end up back in the oceans. It is a cycle. All bodies of water are connected in some manner or another. It might be just in the form of moisture in the air. This flow of water is necessary for us to live. We don't just drink water one time and that's it. Similarly, there is only one pool of money in the world. The fact that the pool is being managed by various banks, insurance companies, corporations, and individuals, and in various currency denominations and countries is incidental. The money in your wallet or purse is part of the banking system. When you go to buy something, money must flow from you to the seller in a relatively short period of time, otherwise, nothing happens. If money didn't flow, it would be worthless. When money flows, it ultimately ends up back in the warehouse of wealth. Without the concept of without the concept of warehousing our money, we would all be on a barter system. We would be back in the caves. Someone is going to perform the warehouse of wealth function. How much of this function do you control as it relates to your needs in life? Everyone needs a heart and it must be working. Otherwise, we can refer to you in the past tense. The heart is both a reservoir of blood and it is a pump. It pumps the blood to wherever it is needed through arteries and then returns it through veins back to the heart after it has been rejuvenated by other organs. But have you ever considered the fact that you could live without a non functioning heart? I did for about 2.5 hours some 24 years and 3 months ago. The heart surgeons had mine outside the chest cavity while replumbing for coronary arteries. During this time, my heart was not working. The surgery team shut it down. Yet, here I am writing this book. What made this possible? A wonderful machine called a heart lung machine. It did everything my heart was doing, but only marginally so. Water has got to flow. Blood has got to flow. Money has got to flow. With these three analogies, I'm going to demonstrate that in the financial world, most folks are doing the equivalent of living on a hard loan machine nearly 35% of the time. Absurd. They should never have to be on that machine. Let's go back to figure 1, how a participating whole life insurance policy works, shown on page 70. I studied it for a few minutes. Hmm. With the information we have seen so far, how are human beings actually behaving in this possible financial environment? Several years ago, I did a good bit of a study of the spending habits of American families. Through the years, I have kept an eye on the figures and the proportion of income allocated to each category. I suggest that you do your own study of this pattern of spending and draw your own conclusions. This seems to be the current situation and doesn't really change all that much over the lifetime of individuals. I build scenarios around the all American family because I don't want people to think that you have to be rich to create a banking system that can handle all your needs for finance. This young man is 29 years old and is making $28,500 per year after taxes. What does he do with the after tax income? 20% is spent on transportation, 30% is spent on housing, 45% is spent on living, clothes, groceries, contribution to religious and charitable causes, boat payments, car payments, casualty insurance on cars, vacations, etc. Many of these items are financed by credit cards or bank notes. The balance is financed by paying cash for them and thus giving up interest that could be earned otherwise. He is saving less than 5% of disposable income. So that's the graph. So that's the graph of the different allocations of money. The dark one is the car payments. The clear one is the interest. Actually, not necessarily car payments. The dark one is payments of all the stuff: cars, housing, living, and even saving is allocated in there. And then the clear one is the interest. But to be as generous as possible, let's assume that he is saving 10% and spending only 40% on living expenses. This is giving him every benefit of the doubt on the matter of savings. Just remember the real situation is at least twice as bad as what is depicted. The problem is that all these items are financed by other banking organizations. An automotive financing package, this is not the cost of the car, it is how much is financed. For this hypothetical person, is 10,550 for 48 months with an interest rate of at least 8.5% with payments of $260.05 per month. So, since interest went back again recently, this is relatively a very close example, with the difference that the financing part is kind of um, low, because 10,550 means that you um, you maybe are um, scaling down on the kind of car that you are buying, so your trade allows that you are only financing 10,550. I went this weekend with my son to trade his automatic Mustang for a stick shift Mustang. That's what he wanted, and he actually changed a 2020 for a 2024, and he's got his he received in trade about 29,500. So he's financing 25,000. But the good thing is he's got two policies. So he's going to be able to recapture the interest that he's paying on the financing on the car. So if you check with the sales manager of an automobile agency, you will find that 95% of the cars that are traded in are not paid for. Well, that was the same case with my son. The car was not totally paid for. Some was still owed to the insurance company. So he's going to add a little more debt um, with the insurance company. But the difference is he is going to be able to pay what he wants, and is extremely flexible because he can pay whenever he's got the money. He can pay more or less whenever he can or wants. That's the difference. Financing with a bank, you don't have options. It's what they say. And if you don't pay what they say, then you are penalized and they ruin your credit. So those are differences that um, are worth to consider. Don't take my word for this, that most of the cars are not paid for. Do your own research on this matter. Call on the owner or sales manager of a number of car dealers and ask them that question. This means at the end of 30 months, if the car is traded, 21% of every payment dollars is interest. Even if it goes the full 4 years, the portion of every payment made is still 20%. This means that the interest portion of every dollar spent is perpetual. It never seems to dawn that the volume of interest is the real issue, not the annual percentage rate. For a real thrill, go to see the sales manager of a high priced cars and ask him what percentage of the cars that leave their car lot are leased. The answer will probably be 75% or more. This is more than financing a car purchase. When you go to the doctor's office to get a shot of some kind, the criteria is not the rate at which the medicine is injected into you. It is the volume. Too little and it won't do any good. Too much and it can kill you. Now let's move to the housing situation. This young man can qualify for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage in the amount of about $93,000 at a fixed interest rate of 7% annual percentage rate, with payments of $618.75 and closing costs of some $2,500. Well, this book was written in 2012. We are in 2024, so prices of houses are higher. Now, the interest rate right now, depending on your credit, you can get it from like 5.5 to 7%. So also is a close example with the difference of the actual cost of the property. The problem is that within 5 years, he will move to another city, across town, or refinance the mortgage. Something happened to a mortgage within 5 years, including the closing costs and interest paid out during these 60 months. He had paid $39,625, but only $5,458 has gone to reduce the loan. This means that $34,167 has gone to interest and closing cost. Divide the amount paid out into the interest and closing costs, and you find that 86% of every dollar paid out goes to the cost of financing. If he sells the house in less than 5 years, the results are worse. This proportion never gets any better because he takes on a new mortgage and starts all over again. He thinks that he's buying a house, but all he's really doing is making the wheels of the banking business and the real estate business in that order turn. Again, don't take my word for this. Either do your own research and prove this fact for yourself. The amazing thing is that government leaders and financial organizations refer to the above paragraph as home ownership. All this activity is simply making the wheels of the real estate business and the banking business turn. Absurd. Today, there are countless families that owe more on the house than it is worth, all because of this notion that everyone should own a home. I wonder where that idea came from. Mortgage rates have decreased to ridiculous levels and induce people into buying houses that they cannot afford. The net effect of this action has turned the banking function over to the bankers, and they have painted the American citizens into the worst corner of all time. The banking function should be controlled at the you and me level. It can be done through building your warehouse of wealth. In the next segment of this spending part of his spending pattern, the living expenses, you will find that the interest on his boat, payments, credit card interest, plus the cost of casualty interest on the plus the cost of casualty insurance on the automobiles, etc., will rival in volume the interest he is paying on the two automobiles. Later on in this book, you will learn how to self insurance for comprehensive and collision insurance on automobiles. Now, add up all the interest he's paying out, and you find that 34.5 cents of every disposable dollar paid out is interest. For the average all American male, This proportion never changes. Let's assume that he is trying to save 10% of his disposable income, which is twice the average savings rate in America at this time. That means that we have a 3.45 to 1 ratio of interest paid out as compared to savings. If you will get this young man together with his peers at a coffee break of some such gathering and have one of them suggest that they discuss financing matters, I can predict what they will talk about: getting a high rate of return on the portion they are saving. Meanwhile, every participant in the conversation is doing the above. What a tragedy. But that is how they have learned to conduct their financial affairs, all because of, all because of the way they think. The banking industry has taught them well. Professional credentials. We're going to continue with the professional credentials in the next video, next Monday. And so that means this chapter will read it in two parts. So thank you for visiting, and I'll see you next Monday in English. And this Friday, we're going to read this part in Spanish. So if you want to hear it in Spanish, then see me Friday. Thank you for participating, for checking this video. And if you have questions, please put them under the video that you're watching, or contact me at jorgeeherrera.com. That will take you to my LinkedIn page, and we can have a conversation. I can answer your questions, and I can build your warehouse of wealth. I can design your dividend paying whole life insurance contract so it will be efficient for you to use it and grow wealth. So thank you. I will see you next time.